Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here, and it's my pleasure to be part of the digital symposium. I hope you can hear me well. Unfortunately, I have some technical issues, so my presentation will be shared by Matthias. If I should introduce myself, I would say in few words that I am a passionate geographer, citizen science enthusiast, and open source advocate. Formally said, I am here as a part of Institute of Geonics of Czech Academy of Sciences, which is the institution who is running together with Thomas Bata University in Zlín, the Czech National Portal of Citizen Science, which is hosted at citizenscience.cz. If we can move to the next slide, I would say briefly a few words about what to expect from my presentation. Anything which is at the presentation under the blue color means that you can click on it and the new interactive content will open in a new window. So you can start, just don't click on it right now, Matthias. Thank you. It's just a good example that it works fine. And you can start with the concept introduction to citizen science, because it's a great concept, and we don't have much time to dive deeply into it. I would just like to say a few words about basic principles and theoretical background, talk a little bit about project examples, and a short speech will be done on the case of citizen science in the Carpathian regions in the case study of Czechia. Let's start with the next slide, where I have chosen a definition which I have borrowed from the Wikipedia, which is, at least in my opinion, one of the most famous citizen science projects. And you can see that according to Wikipedia, the citizen science could have a lot of meaning. A lot of similar words can describe mainly the same thing. It means that it is a process where a non-professional scientists, ordinary people, are part of scientific research. We can illustrate it at the next slide, where just use the arrow. Yes, exactly. How citizen science is important, because if you are a scientist and you are running a research or conducting a project where you need hands from people, this is exactly the case where citizen science could help. On the next slide, I have an example who could be a citizen scientist, and the answer is pretty easy. It's almost anyone who is willing to join your scientific efforts, who is doing science or conducting research for you in his or her free time and participating at your activities. Let's move further to the main citizen science type of activities. Well, related to methodology, there are a lot of approaches how we can divide citizen science in general. Again, I have borrowed one which I really like from Muki Hakli. It's also presented in the e-learning course at eucitizen.science webpage, which I'm also going to talk about. So let's look at the citizen science activities or types of activities. We will start with the activities which have, let's say, long running conditions. It means that you have, for example, a large area where you are looking for some data. You need a large amount of people gathering the data, and you are not limited by time. These examples are typical for natural sciences, for ecology, for archaeology. And if we look at some project examples which could serve as a best practice in this type of long-running citizen science project, it's on the next slide, which is birds counting. This is an example from the Czech Ornithological Society, which is also part of the worldwide effort to count the birds. It's super easy. It's been collected once or several times per year, and you can be part of this huge movement in counting the birds. This is a good example where you really need a big area and a lot of people participating in a research. The second type of citizen science activities is called, let's say, citizen cyber science, where we can count with volunteer computing or volunteer thinking. Good examples are projects where you are sitting in front of the computer and you are interacting with some activities at your computer. The first example is from the very famous project Snapshot Serengeti. It's a project where a lot of pictures from camera traps are stored on the website, and ordinary people, citizen science enthusiasts, are looking at the pictures and trying to classify what is on the picture. And by this very simple task, they actually help scientists to classify a huge database of terabytes of pictures, of photos from camera traps. And it's a really good example of this kind of citizen cyber science. From the picture situated on the right side of the slide, you can see the game which is called Fold It. Fold It is also a good example of the gamification in citizen science. It's based on a modeling of let's say some enzymes or molecules, where players try to beat themselves and gain the highest score, and actually help scientists to model these crucial parts of enzymes, molecules, and so on. You can also be, let's say, a passive part of citizen science by volunteering your computer environment and let's say the power of your computer, and to be part of projects like Folding at Home or other projects where you are just running a remote program which is using your computer memory, and thus you are participating in the global and a huge project, again based on the computer. That's why this quite a large group is called citizen cyber science. And the last one, the last group is community-based citizen science activities, where we can imagine projects which are not necessarily, but many times comes from the bottom-up principle. It means that you have some problems you are dealing with inside your community and trying to have some arguments based on scientific research, some data. And these projects are typical for let's say not the large areas, but it could cover, for example, the whole Europe, yes, as it was in the example of the Diagnosis project here. To this category, we also talk about do-it-yourself projects, about some electronics or some other devices which can gather data or measure anything in the environment, and you can freely publish or upload the data for scientific purposes. The next slide, please. Yes, this would be quite a quick section at my presentation, because I would really like to point out to 10 principles of citizen science, which was prepared by ECSA, European Citizen Science Association. And as you can see on the next two slides, they are pretty easy, and if you read them carefully, and I really recommend to read them all, then you will have a clear idea how the clear citizen science should be done, and what is citizen science and what is not citizen science. These 10 principles are localized to many languages, including the languages of all Visegrad countries. So you can really use your localized version. Next is another very simple question, where if we were running out of time, I would just say, yes, it does. But let's look deeply to some examples. I've chosen 2 flagship projects, which I personally like best. It's the Wikipedia, I've already talked about it before, and the OpenStreetMap, a free map of the world, which is being created by people, ordinary people, and which is being used in many scientific projects as a base map, but also as a tool for further research activities. The next examples are written examples of, let's say, some stories, or it's an approach of a storytelling. I'm not gonna read all of them, but you can come to back them later. On the EXA mailing list, you are discussing what would be the best way how to explain the importance of citizen science, and a lot of people think that it is through the storytelling. So let's focus on these 3 short stories, which should give you a more, let's say, overview of the benefits of citizen science. On the next slide, there should be the other example how citizen science could help in the regional development. These are big part of the projects are called in general Fix My Street app. We have several examples. One of the most famous actually comes from Hungary. It's called Jarokele. In the Czech Republic, we also have an example in the projects which is focusing on the monitoring of the roads in the Czech Republic. The next slide, please. Yeah, now we are moving to the last, let's say, theoretical part of my presentation, which is about the state of the citizen science in the Czech Republic. We several years ago, with my colleagues, we made a research monitoring the state of the art of the citizen science in the Eastern European countries with focus on Czech Republic. If I should conclude the results, what we found is that the citizen science actually has a long tradition in the Czech Republic. As you would see on the graph, if there would be the right slide, the number of citizen science projects is increasing. Yes, that's the right slide. Is increasing, and we are being more and more part of the global citizen science projects like City Nature Challenge or EuroBioBlitz, which has the first effort last years. Also from the 2019, we started to run a Czech national portal for the citizen science projects. I would like to show you the portal at the end of the presentation, together with the European platform for sharing ideas, resources, trainings about European citizen science. But to our Czech and Slovak colleague, I would recommend to look at the citizenscience.cz, where there is also database of Czech citizen science projects and information about citizen science in the Czech Republic. On the next graph, there are outputs from the research on let's say, on the fields which are mainly using the citizen science approaches, it is not so, we couldn't be so surprised that the natural sciences are dominant in this case, but there are also some projects in social sciences and humanities or in agriculture. Actually, one of the projects in social sciences and agriculture are being developed based on the outputs of the presentation done by Jirka Leheček, where we are going to establish a citizen science project monitoring the impacts of climate changes to agriculture landscape in the Czech Republic. The next slide, please. Yes, this is the cartographic visualization about where are the projects of citizen science running in the Czech Republic. Most of them are based at the university centers or at the centers where NGOs, especially from natural sciences and environmental sciences, are. So it's these cities. Next slide is the advertisement of the citizenscience.cz. I would like to show it more deeply so we can move to the end of the presentation, where to the end of the presentation we can move. Yes, the last, or almost the last slide, is the information about where to start. Here are some data and platforms links, so you can use e.g. the specific websites like eBird if you are a fan of birds, or you can start with one of the most famous citizen science platforms like SciStarters, Zooniverse, Atlas of Living Australia, BioCollect. Or you can stay within the European or Czechoslovak context on the EU citizen.science or at the citizenscience.cz. If we have time, we can also click at the citizenscience.cz and EU citizen.science to show how these sites look like, or we can leave it for further discussion. Well, so this is a pretty new site, citizenscience.cz, which is serving for the Czech and Slovak citizen scientists, both professionals and people who are willing to participate in the citizen science projects. On the homepage, you can also link to the project database, where are a lot of projects, more than several dozens of projects, where you can find your own, or you can list your own project by filling a simple form. Yes, it's also possible to search for the project. A more sophisticated site is prepared under the EU context. It's EU citizen.science, where after the very simple registration, you can look for some resources for citizen science materials. There are a lot of e-learning courses in the under the training button. If you would like to closely participate with some organization who is dealing with citizen science, I mean professionally, there you can also search for organizations at your country who are dealing with the citizen science. We can, yes. I think that you can also show the Czech Republic. There would be some organizations. But you need to clear yes the keywords of butterfly. Well, and that's basically it. So I would like really to point to citizenscience.cz and EU citizens.science. And if you would like to start with citizen science, don't hesitate to click on the blue text which was highlighted in my presentation. Some of the pictures are also a hyperlink. So one of the most recent books published on citizen science, which is called The Science of Citizen Science, could be also freely downloaded, and it's the link is inside the presentations. That's all for me now. Thank you very much for your attention.